What's up, guys? Just here back my channel, and tonight I'll be doing a review for AEW Dynamite. So let's get to it then. We have a little segment so with Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm come face to face inside the Curtis Carwell Center. We're here to finish on the interest tune for the CEO. Out comes the multiple champion. It's covered a giant red carpet. She sells inside the ring and tells Texas to say hello to our CEO. Monet says she knows she and Thomas Tony Storm have gotten things off on the wrong foot. She says, "Let's get this on the road, darling," instead of coming out. However, Storm appears alongside Luther in black and white on the big screen at the top of the entrance area. And come on, you stupid fucking thing. Anyways, Storm talks about two big things coming out of Texas and says Tony Storm is at least one of them. This gets a pop and Tony chant from the crowd as Mercedes tells her to come out of hiding and calls her a mark. She also promised not to hurt Luther too badly. Tony insists she's not hiding and calls for her music to be played. And with that said, the reigning AEW World Champion emerges to a big crowd reaction and a bottle of champagne in her hand. Monet offers a toast with Storm, a toast for herself as she will be the new AEW Women's World Champion. She takes a sip, complaining about it being burned as if it was frozen, but Storm tells her to save the performative bullshit for her entrance. She runs down her challenger. She says Monet has the emotional depth of a kiddo pull. Monet then mocks her, insisting that she outclasses Tony in every way. Monet says no one will stop the money train, not even Tony Storm. She talks about her legacy and calls herself the One Woman Revolution, the Alpha and Omega, and everything in between. Tony says legacies don't exist. We're all going to die. Storm adds, all that matters is one moment. Storm says that moment is when Mercedes looks her in the eye and realizes she fears an ordinary life. Tony Storm says she only fears an ordinary death. She says Monet deserves all the titles in the world, but not the AEW Women's World Championship. The Times one continues stating that Monet will go down as a woman who just couldn't win the big one. Mercedes says it appears that they can't be civil about this. She then accidentally references their match this Saturday, prompting the crowd to get on her case. Monet says she will have to simply beat Tony Storm and take what is hers. The two then toast one more time before Storm charges at Monet. She lays in some punches before Monet clears out of the ring, retreating up the ramp. Storm's music hits, and she drops down and rolls around to end the opening segment. That was funny. Alright, John Moxley's message to Heyman Page. Backstage, we see AEW World Champion and leader of the Death Riders, John Moxley. He has a message for Heyman. Page had their Texas Deathmatch showdown this Saturday at AEW All in Texas. Moxley asked if Heyman can hold the line under pressure of everyone counting on him this Saturday. Almost said Sunday. Moxley says that he thinks Heyman is a waste, but notes that Heyman has one chance to prove him wrong at All In. Mox says he better walk that aisle like it's his last time, because whether he likes it or not, he is all the way in with this. Alright, we have a first match coming up. Finally, Bandito and Brody King versus Kanoshi Takesha and Kyle Fletcher back inside the ring. Come down there. After the first team sells in the ring, Brody King in order to make their way out. Okay, anyways, the bell sounds and we get the official off and running with this tag team opener. Following some good back for action, Duncast family duo settle into the early offensive lead as the show heads to a mid-match commercial break. When the show returns, we see Fletcher is in control. He goes after Bandito before sending him into the corner. Bandito fights back, knocking Takesha off the apron, which lets him focus on taking Fletcher down. Next, tag mate to Brody, who takes the Pro Star to the mat with a big side slam before sending him to the corner for a running cannonball. He pulls Kyle away from the corner for a cover, but only gets a 2 count. Fletcher's back up for a thrust kick, but that gets blocked, only for Kyle to take him down with Michinoku driver. This only gets a 2 count before Kyle escapes for a tag to Takeshita. Bandito tags in as well, but Proto Ishida double team him until Brody pops onto the apron, catching Fletcher with a sleeper, while Bandito goes up top for a frog splash on the Alpha, covered by Bandito, but Fletcher barely manages to break the pin. Brody and Fletcher take their fight to the outside as the catch-up blocks a 21 plex. Bandito makes his way up onto the ropes, but is tape back down. Seconds later, we see a big raging fire setting up the Alpha Kenoshi Takeshita for the pinfall victory. So winners are Kenoshi Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Backstage hour on LTR. It was a video. This one, that next one was a video package, and so she would video package reaching an hour, and she would promise to FTR tomorrow night on the live special live outside AEW Collision with Jet Speed and the Patriarchy in the mix for an 8-man tag. Our dad would head to a quick commercial break. When the show returns, we shoot backstage where we see FTR and the Patriarchy, Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, chance for the AEW World Tag Team Championship at All In Texas, and Cage offers a deal. Cage offers to help FTR out of the way. So yeah. Anyways, next match coming out. Second match is Ricochet versus Bleak Christian. Ricochet makes his way out. Okay, the bell rings. The singles match. Blake goes after Ricochet early, taking him to the ropes before Ricochet fights back. Christian forces him to the outside for a breather, but manages to turn things around on him despite bold chants from the crowd. Blake manages to get back in control, eventually sending Ricochet out of the ring as the crowd cheers for him. He goes for a dive, leaping through the ropes to take Ricochet to the floor to a nice pop. The Gates of Agony make their way out, distracting Blake long enough for Ricochet to send him into the ring steps. We head to a mid-match commercial break. On that note, when the show returns, we see both men are in the ring once more, but this doesn't last long as Ricochet sends Blake to the outside. He goes for a dive, but gets caught by Ricochet for a 2 count. Blake is up on his feet, laying into Ricochet with some right hands. Ricochet fights back, but Christian hits a cutter, setting up for a 450 splash and a close to 2 count on Ricochet. Blake goes to Rhodes, but is knocked to the outside as the Gates of Agony try to intervene. They manage to succeed. They do so right after Ricochet distracts Ref, and this gives Ricochet the opening for a Spirit Gun, followed by beat down of Christian. So winner is Ricochet. Alright, segment coming up. Talkie Talk with MJF and Ricochet. We shoot backstage. We'll see Renee Paquette saying about with MJF. She asks him about the upcoming Talkie Talk with Mark Briscoe and MJF, and says he won't be dealing with that long as it hurts to get with him. MVP and the Rose. MVP tells her she gets Bobby Lashley and Michelle Bishop to grab their AEW World Championships. We're only to realize that Jet Speed duo Kevin Knight and Bailey Kazuchika Okada at AEW All in Texas this coming Saturday. Alright, back inside the arena, Mark Briscoe heads out for a talkie talk with MJF. Out comes Maxwell Jacob Freeman. A tiny pickle champ breaks out from the crowd. Until Mark asks him to settle down for this talkie talk. MJF feels even more strongly about this than I do as he runs Briscoe down before mocking the Texas crowd as he jokes about dog walking Briscoe at All in Texas. The crowd tells him to shut the fuck up, but MJF persists as he tells Briscoe there will be no talkie talk, but he can make a walking walk. Briscoe says to listen here, Pickle, it sounds like you need is a good old fashioned country ass whooping. The crowd encourage him as he talks about delivering this style of butt kicking to win the Casino Call, and he says that this Saturday, today is Talkie Talk Day. The master of Redneck Kung Fu continues only to MJF to hear enough and cut into his insult. Yeah, about how he is proud to be a country redneck, to have had to work hard for every dollar. But Mark has his own riches in his family and loved ones. MJF isn't rich; he's bankrupt. In fact, the word of the day today is bankrupt because MJF is morally brain and he has no soul. He says right through MJF and already knows he's gonna do. Briscoe says he's gonna say something bad about his dead brother, so he'll lose his cool. MJF says he wouldn't do that. He calls Mark's late brother one of the best legends of all time. He then goes on to say it should have been Mark that died, and Mark snaps and attacks him as he brawls with steps. Jet Speed then lays out Lashley with a running kick on the floor. They continue the fight as the patriarchy comes out to pick up the scraps. They focus on Lashley and send him up for a con chair to on his knees. Jet Speed focuses on dealing with Benjamin in the ring. The rest kick by Bailey leads a UFO splash by Knight. Alright, we have a AEW All In Texas Women's Concealed Gauntlet number 2 spot eliminator match. Megan Bain versus Ty Mello versus Queen Amana versus Thekla. I hope I said that right. Inside the arena again, we had out 2 ones. Alright. Come on, stupid thing. Coming by the okay, here we go. Alright, the bell sound official on running with this one. Bane goes after Thekla straight out the gate as Amana and Mello go at it. Thekla is sent out of the ring by Megan, who lays out Ty and the Queen with a double clothesline. From there, the action spills to the floor at ringside with Amana hitting a big dive off the top row onto a pile of bodies on the floor. After that, we shift gears into mid-match country break. Action continues and this high-stakes four-way bout continues when the show returns. After some more back forward action, we see some interference from the outside lead to Bane hitting a running seated powerbomb for the victory with the win. It'll be Bane in the number 2 spot with Chris Stanlater in the number 1 spot in the women's break. So winner and number 2 contender in AEW All in Texas Women's Concealed Gauntlet, Megan Bane. Alright, next match coming up, Samoa Joe versus Rhea Yuta. When the show returns, we see Renee Paquette backstage with Douglas. She is ambushed and then attacked out of nowhere by to continue to brawl on the ground. In the background, fired up Mark Briscoe enters the picture and badly stumbles over his words as he sends his final message to MJF. Back inside the Curtis Cross, sounds the diverse, blah blah blah. Comes with the theme for Samoa Joe is ring. Okay, the bell sounds and after some early back for action, we see Joe selling. Hold on, guys. Give me a good few minutes. Okay, here we go. Let's go backstage. We see the Samoa theme. Okay, the bell sounds and running with after some early action, backward action. We see Joe settle into the offensive lead as the show heads to mid-match break. The show returns. We see Rhea Yuta fight back and now to send Joe to the outside for a dive that connects. This time when Joe gets back in the ring, he's taken down by Yuta for a 2 count. Joe gets sent to the corner but fights back until Yuta takes him down for an armbar. Joe fights back for a manhand drop before getting a 2 off a running senton. He keeps on top of Yuta for a second close 2 count in a row before bringing Yuta to the corner. He then sends Yuta to the ropes, but Rhea looks for a German suplex only to take a bite out of Joe, trying to roll him up. Joe counters into a Coquina clutch for the win. After the match, the chaos continues. The celebration is cut short by the arrival of Gabe Kidd, but Powerhouse Hobbs and Kazori Shibata run down to intervene. Kidd and Yuta escape to the crowd as we go to a commercial break ahead of our main event next. We had to break on that note. So winner is Samoa Joe. Alright, the main event coming up, All-Star 8-man tag. John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and the Young Bucks versus Heyman Page, Will Ospreay, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Kazori Shibata. Alright, main event time finally. Hobbs and Shibata introduced. They're still out there. Heyman got the best. Alright, Young Bucks from there. Constantly, blah blah. Alright, the bell sounds. Paige and Matthew kick things off for respective teams. Heyman is more focused on Mox, and this allows Matthew to take advantage to tag to Nicholas, and the Bucks take down their former best friend, only for Ospreay to get tagged to even things up. He takes out Matthew before tagging in Shibata. The pair take the fight to Nicholas in the corner before Hobbs tags in for an assist. Power slam leads to a tag to Osprey, who hits a sky twister press for a near fall before it gets broken up. The action spills outside as all 8 men go at it, leading to Paige going for a big moonsault off the top onto a pile of bodies. On that note, the show shifts gears into a match coverage as the main event of the evening continues. When the show returns, we see Paige get the tag to go after everyone he can before finally focusing on Mandy for a fallaway slam. He goes after Claudio with a dive to the outside as we spot a table set up at ringside. Paige gets back in the ring for a laser bomb on Matthew. He goes for a follow-up pin attempt, but Nicholas breaks it up before the count of 3. In the midst of a dead man attempt, we barely see Claudio gets a blind tag before he goes after the Heyman. Tag made to Halls, and Powerhouse Hall trade spots, but Casanoli then sends him to the corner for a series of strikes. Amidst a meat chant, Claudio starts to fight back, but Shibata makes the tag to go after him. The Bucks and Paige jump in, and chaos ensues until Ospreay gets caught with a double super kick by the Bucks. They do the same to Haas, setting him up to be sent through the table by Claudio. EVP trigger connects on Shibata as Moxley gets a tag now, cinching in a bulldog choke, and Shibata has no choice but to tap out. Paige tries to intervene but is caught off by Gabe, with Yuta coming in. Winners: Jon Moxley, Claudio Casanova, and the Young Bucks. Alright, AEW Dynamite go home post match segment coming up right away after this. There was Paige before handing a pair of plastic bags to cover that the Heyman with the EVPs are hesitant to do their old friend what was once done to Bryan Danielson. I think never quite do it, as the screen reveals Swerve stricken out in the parking lot. From there, Swerve talks about the choices that have to be made in life before we discover that he's operating a vacuum excavator or something. He goes to work destroying the custom limousine of the Young Bucks as they freak out watching on the big screen from the ring. Meanwhile, the Oz and Paige turn things around. Heyman, Hobbs, Joe, and Shibata begin fighting back and taking over the Death Riders of the Young Bucks, and Gabe Paige looks to set up for a buckshot there on Mox, but Claudio intercepts with the uppercut. This doesn't stop Heyman as he shakes it off and then blasts Claudio. Paige then takes a step forward right in Mox's face and grills him. Paige is handing a giant steel chain. He looks at it, and then Mox with pure evil in his eyes before he can do anything. However, Marina Shafir pulls Mox out to the floor, and they escape through the crowd. My gosh, she's so fucking annoying in this group, man. I can't stand her. Anyways, the camera catches up with the Bucks fleeing the scene as they quickly walk through the halls backstage and end up in the parking lot. They see their limousine that Swerve demolished moments ago and freak out. Prince Nana walks out smirking. They vow he will pay. It's just then, Swerve leaps off the giant construction vehicle. It connects with a Swerve stomp on the Bucks. We see one more shot of the Heyman staring down Mox and the Dead Riders as they continue to retreat through the crowd. That's how the All In Texas Go Home Show episode 8 of wraps up. The show goes out there and stuff. So yeah. Anyways, it was a good show tonight. It was okay. But I don't know, man. I'm gonna have mixed feeling with this show and stuff. And man, I think if Mercedes Moné wins that belt and Jon Moxley retains his belt, I'm done with AEW, man. I can't do a shit anymore and stuff. So yeah, cause the Dead Riders storyline does not make any fucking sense at all. Like, I don't understand why they made it and stuff, but yeah, I don't understand. But I don't know. But I have a little mixed feeling about this show for AW All in Texas. So yeah, anyways, that was this first video. Hope you like it and not whatever stuff. So like, subscribe, hit the button, leave a comment. And guys, don't leave a comment stuff. I don't care what you guys do. And that was it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night for AW Collision. Alright? So see ya. Laters.